Now that we better understand how an attacker is going to analyze our web application, let's take a look at some additional tools that can be added to the browser that are going to illuminate more information about our application or the architecture on which it runs. The first tool we're going to look at is called Wappalyzer. Wappalyzer is a great tool for doing enumeration on a website or web application because it can sniff out all of the different technologies that are used on any given web page. Looking at the cyber scavenger hunt, we can see all kinds of technologies that I chose to use to build this application. Things like React, AWS, Google Fonts, and a whole host of others. Wappalyzer even goes as far as to list the specific version numbers for some of these libraries. Looking at jQuery, we can see the exact version that's included on the cyber scavenger hunt. From an attacker's perspective, this information is critical. They're going to look up jQuery version 3.5.1 to see if it's susceptible to any specific vulnerabilities. Just like we could tell by looking at the HTTP response headers, Wappalyzer can clearly see we're using AWS for the infrastructure. We'll head over to cnn.com to take a look at another browser extension called Retire.js. Retire.js is similar to Wappalyzer, though it's limited to mostly JavaScript libraries that are running on a web page. Retire.js is specifically looking for outdated and vulnerable versions of JavaScript libraries. As you can see on the screen, jQuery 1.12 has a lot of vulnerabilities. Retire.js links out to all kinds of third-party resources to tell you much more information about the vulnerabilities and hopefully point us towards some mitigations that we can implement on our own site. For example, clicking on bullet point number 3 takes us to the NIST website where it details the specific CVE that this version of jQuery is vulnerable to. The third example I want to show you is a browser extension from Shodan, which is a tool known as the search engine for devices connected to the internet. Shodan makes it really simple to find out information like the IP address hosting the site, any host names associated with this domain, as well as any ports that may be open on the server. This is all information that attackers will typically find using tools built into Kali Linux. But as you can see, the browser extensions make this really fast and really easy to enumerate all of that info right here in the browser. Last but not least, there may be all kinds of browser extensions that are related to developer tools depending upon the kind of technology used to build the site. For a website like Cyber Scavenger Hunt, which is built in React, an attacker may choose to download a browser extension like the React Developer Tools, which can allow an attacker to modify values at runtime. While an attacker is unlikely to compromise your site directly using React Developer Tools, it should be noted that an attacker might be able to put an application into an unintended state, thereby exposing data they weren't supposed to see. The bottom line here is that web applications are inherently insecure because the browsers themselves are inherently insecure. You cannot encrypt data on the web if you want a user to interact with your site. My best advice is to become very familiar with some of these browser extensions, just so that you are more aware of the data being exposed by your application or its architecture. The more aware you are of the data an attacker can see, the more likely you are to implement countermeasures to make sure they can't abuse that data. Let's talk about some specific advice for React applications in the next lesson. Let's go.